Hey, well, welcome. David Barron here. This is the Facebook Live Hypnosis Q and A, and I'm David Barron. Those of you who have not been on this before, who are maybe seeing this for the first time, I've been a professional hypnotist for nearly 20 years. I have, worked with nearly 10,000 people, or at least when I figured out I reached 10,000 people, I quit counting. So at least 10,000 people. And typically what I work with is people who want to make changes. One of the things I like to talk about, what hypnosis is good for, it's good at changing internally how we feel about certain things. So if we have habits, fears, patterns, then it is a great way of changing how we respond to them. There are a lot of things within hypnosis that are perhaps a little weird. Maybe I'd like to talk about those a little bit later. I want to address a couple of different things here that I had planned. Mostly I did not have to plan a great deal. I wanted to, let me see, I want to be able to share, I cannot share this while I'm broadcasting. That's the only thing. Well, I had recently put up a new free download on my website. It's on criminal profiling, and it is still available there. I just wanted to share with you where you can find. I have quite a few free downloads that are available. And I'm going to just share where those are at. Let me see. Come on, I can send it. There we go. I'm going to just send this. So, oh, no. Okay, yeah, in that link, you'll have all of my downloads that are available there, but you'll notice that when you go there, there's going to be several that are free, no cost. And the most recent one is simply called Profiler. It is a professionally written book by someone who is a criminal, military or criminal profiler, basically. And the purpose of me giving that out and presenting it is so that it really, the more you're able to influence people, even whether you're a hypnotist or not, the more benefit you're going to get. Understanding people is going to be one of the most powerful skills and pieces of knowledge that you'll ever have in order to gain influence, to have power, and to basically, make a life that you want. One of my very close friends made it very clear. He shared a picture of his journal about his concepts of value and how there are people who just, they make money, but they spend it as soon as they make it, and they're basically they're not in the fast lane by any means. They're on the sidewalk, and as soon as money comes in, they spend it. The next step up from that are those people who save, at least 10% of their money. And they at least, have some sort of history or future, at least, of having some prosperity. But those people who are really, truly in the fast lane, yes, they'll save their money, but they have a long focus on constantly giving value to the experience. So that's why I'm putting up these free downloads, and that's why I'm doing this presentation every Saturday that I have available. I want to give you guys as much value as possible and to sort of spread the word. Not just because, it's going to eventually come back to me. I certainly think it is. I'm getting a lot of contacts from people who need my help and want to work with me. But come on, it's there to make the world a slightly better place. If you can at least give enough value so that a majority of the people, or at least a fraction of the people, are slightly better off than when you left them, the world is going to be better, and as far as I'm concerned, for me, it does not matter if I am remembered. It's always something people seem to value. But as far as I'm concerned, what matters is that I have had an impact and I've offered some value. So if you can just go over some of those free downloads, some are more valuable than others. I find them where I can. I share them when I'm able. And if you guys have any interesting free downloads that you'd like me to present to people, I'd be more than happy to. But again, that download is called Profiler. It's there if you click the link over here. Here, I think it is, or no, down there, wherever it's at. All right. Had a couple of questions, which again, I want to thank Miko, who is probably on here right now, or at least will be watching here soon. And he had a question regarding, in fact, if I can just find it, well, I'll go by memory here. I'm not going to search for it. Basically, he talked about, at least in a conversation or hearing my mentor, Jeff Stevens, talk about focus is a process of deletion. And he asked me to describe that in a little bit more detail. When you are focusing your attention, when you are narrowing your attention down more and more and more to one thing, you are very intentionally excluding everything else. And so by excluding everything else, you are deleting them from your awareness. You are taking one thing more and more and more and making it a bigger and bigger part of your awareness. So that's what it means by deletion. Now, hypnosis, at least the hypnosis that I do when I'm working with somebody, I have a serious objective. And my objective is to narrow their attention down just like to a little laser point and make it so pleasant and so intensely wonderful and so profoundly enjoyable. When they're done, they go, wow, what the hell was that? And when I'm able to do that, I know that they are focused consciously on that one point. It gives me then an opportunity to talk to the non-conscious part of the mind, the subconscious mind, and address the very specific things that needs to be addressed. You know, if they have habits, cravings, to eliminate them, to give them a better response. If they're responding to things with anxiety, with phobias, with worry, again, give that a better response. Typically, everyone that I work with, and you will hear me say this a lot, the people I work with, they all have the same problem. And that problem is they want to make a change consciously, but their subconscious mind's over here doing something entirely different. It is not broken. It is doing its job. It's just now completely outdated. An example, I was in a recent conversation with somebody who was describing his history. He had multiple surgeries throughout his life. He's disabled to one degree or another. He's dependent upon some people to help care for him. And the end result is he has an incredible amount of anxiety and worry. And my response is, well, of course you do. That would be like a normal response. A healthy person, under those circumstances, I can completely understand why that would be taking place. Because you're essentially, through living this very unique life that is entirely yours, had to be subjected to these various traumas and worries. And the end result is often just anxiety. Now, while that's not unusual and not unanticipated, it doesn't have to be the norm either. Keep in mind, what's happened is through those things, it became a very natural habit for the mind to just anticipate that and worry about it and be concerned about it. But for as many people who have those anxieties, there are just as many people who are able to step out of that, to look at their life from not in the moment of panic, but step away from how they see themselves as they are now, provide some distance to get some perspective, to push back everything so that all of their life is now in a much clearer perspective. And the worry that they were feeling is just one small thing. And with that sense of perspective, you can sort of see things much clearer. And that particular time, you can also begin to analyze what would be a better response to this. Okay, this is not about changing your past. It's not about changing the environment around you. It's about starting right now and asking yourself, based on where this person that I call myself is right now, what would be the very best response to everything that's in my environment and to my life history? Now, in the past, your subconscious mind, your mind just said, worry and panic is what's the most necessary response. But you find out that doesn't work very much. It doesn't work over a long period of time. With that perspective, by pushing things out, by providing distance, by getting some really clear perspective, by seeing your life in a much bigger picture, you can see that your life has a place. And I don't know what that is, but I would like to recommend that what that life has to do is about going back to the idea of giving value, of being able to know that your presence, just by being with somebody or talking with somebody, provides something that is of value, that makes not just your life better, but their life better, everyone's lives better. You're going to find, when you do a little research, that there are some people who are severely handicapped. Some of them are in a wheelchair and have almost no unassisted mobility. But with that, they focus their attention on, again, giving value. It could be an art, a craft that they develop, writing or counseling or helping others. But by doing that, the focus goes outside of the self. It goes to the other person. So anyway, maybe I'm lecturing to too many people here or presenting an idea that's a little strange. But I want you to think about that. Whenever you're in a situation of stress, of anxiety, of worry, you're going back to this whole idea of deletion. Your focus has narrowed down to one thing and has excluded everything else. So take a moment to just recognize that what your attention has done. Yes, I understand that there are things that you sometimes have to pay attention to and things that may be concerned about, but you don't have to lock down on them. You can realize there are other things to pay attention to. And your focus can change. And a lot of people speak of the whole, your thoughts control your reality. When I hear that, that feels to me very trite, because while it is absolutely true, your thoughts do control your experience, it doesn't necessarily tell you how to do it. Okay, it does take a lot of work. It does take a lot of love. It does take a lot of care to do it. So anyway, I got sidetracked there. If you have questions, comments, please mention them below. I want to thank you guys who are watching. I always like to remind people, this is my time to make a little public service announcement, that did you know that every day there are like buttons that go unliked? There are share buttons that go unshared. Don't leave a shared button unshared. Don't leave a like button unliked. Click that button and pass it along. Thank you very much. That's my public service announcement. I also, now I'm going to, I hope you like that. I want to talk a little bit about a really good book. It's mindlessly simple. A book about persuasion and influence. This is the book, Persuasion and Influence. Yes, it says, in a week. It is available, it is available on my website. But I want to point out a couple of things. If you look at some of my other books, Mind and Control Language Patterns, or Building Your Cult. Let me see, let's get that better. Get a little focus in here. Something like that. Let's get a little focus here soon. If you look at the other books that are on my site, they're incredibly, let me see if I can get this. There we go. We got some focus. The other books on my site that I've written are very detail-oriented. They are about doing very specific things to get a very specific outcome and influence people. I'm not going to tell you they're bad either. They're very good. But the focus is on minutia, on doing very specific things. The thing I like about this book is it takes a very broad, wide, global picture of the whole idea of persuasion and influence. It gives you steps to do over 7 days that allow you to impact your influence, to impact how you can persuade and present yourself as an authority. And it, even describes it on the book. First, it just starts off with the first day, which is what is influence? It's the ability to move and influence people, and I like to say manipulate. That's not a bad word, but to manipulate people to do things in more in the direction that you want. So it gives you an idea of what influence is. The second day talks about your presentation, your image. Are you a type of person who conveys authority? I mean, do you dress only in t-shirts and Levi's? Well, if you're Mark Zuckerberg, you usually dress only in t-shirts and Levi's, but your authority is demonstrated by other things around you. Typically, someone who is in authority is someone who is clean, well-kept, has his act together, presents an image of having control over their life. So that is just the second day. How can you do that? How can you present yourself as having an image of being in control of your life? Because if you're in control of your life, people are going to be more likely to follow your influence. The second is becoming a voice of authority. This is about not just the things to say and things to not say, but how to make your presentation, to actually incorporate being comfortable, making pauses, hesitating, waiting, to looking at someone in the eye, far beyond most people are comfortable, and being absolutely okay with it. So becoming a voice of authority. The day that follows that is about speaking the language of influence. These are the very specific things that people of authority will tend to say and do. After that, it has to do with being aware of your mental processes. All of us, because of going back to that process of deletion, of focus and deletion, we have filters in front of our eyes, and we have filters in our mind. We have filters that completely do two things. They prevent us from seeing certain things, and they force us to see something else. So, for example, going back to my friend who has some disability, his focus, his filters only allowed him to focus and emphasize the things that were uncomfortable, the things that he had to worry about, the things that he feared. His focus did not allow him easily to focus on opportunities, things to be grateful for, and stuff like that. So understanding that understanding that your mind has these filters, gives you an opportunity to change those filters. A filter that I encourage anyone to try on is the belief, the imagination, the pretending as though something wonderful is about to happen. Just take a moment. Pretend. Just suppose you know something wonderful is about to happen. You don't know what it is, but you know that something wonderful is about to happen. Now, when you do that, in that moment, you create a filter in your mind. And because you know something wonderful is about to happen, everything else starts to quiet down. You become aware of what wonderful things might be out there. You start to look for things that could be wonderful. And it could be anything because you don't know what that wonderful thing is. And you also begin to feel a sense of anticipation. You are able to be in the moment and look forward to the next moment because you know something wonderful is about to happen. So there we go. Filters of thinking. And there are lots of filters of thinking. But the best way to determine, or rather set filters of thinking, is by asking persistently and consistently asking the right questions. So if you want to believe that something wonderful is about to happen, just ask yourself this question and keep asking it. What is wonderful right now? What is wonderful right now? The next moment happens. Okay, what's wonderful right now? And keep asking that and really search for an answer. You don't know what that wonderful thing is, so it could be anything. It could be the fact that someone smiled at you, that you're breathing, that you have a moment to feel relaxed and calm. It could be anything at all. So again, the filters of your thinking have to do with the questions that you ask. Now, the fifth day, rather the sixth day, has to do with flexible influencing. And more than anything, and again, here's the book that I'm referring to, more than anything that I could say about influence is, if you want to be persuasive, if you want to be influential, you've got to actually not be rigid. You have to adapt to whatever the situation is. You can be very influential, and you're certainly going to get a lot of no's, but you just don't let that affect you. Jeff Stevens, my mentor, God rest his soul, one of his phrases was, "I don't care." And he didn't care. If someone didn't respond to a hypnosis process, he didn't care. He just did something else. He was incredibly flexible. Nothing that happened to him would impact him. That's what he meant by, "I don't care. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to get traumatized. I don't care. I'm just going to keep moving forward. If something doesn't work, I'll do something different." And the very last day of this persuasion and influence in a week is just about some of the techniques that you can use. This is where the techniques is where I would probably introduce this. But this is only the seventh day. Just by being able to learn these influential processes, this attitude, this way of presenting yourself, you're going to get a lot done. So I would just highly encourage it. And again, you can find this on Amazon. I have several of them available on my website. It's a great book. This is not one of my books. This is written by another person who's a executive coach. So let's see. Is any other questions that have come up here? I don't see any. Let me see. No other questions. Okay. Now I try and be able to fill out the hour here. And that's largely dependent on the questions that are asked here. I want to give everyone also couple of resources here. Let me see. Okay, now on my website, NewHampshireHypnosis.com, I do have some downloads. These are hypnosis downloads that you can certainly listen to, and I do sell them on a CD, but I also just give them away to my clients and people who need them. They are a very general hypnosis process. They are designed to get you very comfortable with going into hypnosis, to make you feel incredibly good when you're there, and to feel even better when you're out of hypnosis. And again, for me, this is just one of those aspects of giving value, continuing to give value. And you'll notice that a lot of the stuff that I do, it's not all of it's free. So I do anticipate, oh, there we go. Yes, yes. And again, the comment that Miko just reposted here is a great example. It was the original one that I was responding to. One of the things that I teach and is the learning place process. It is a hypnosis process that's designed to create a very strong, almost an eidetic photographic memory. That process, part of it you can describe as what the mind does is the subconscious mind takes in a huge amount of information, just vast amounts of information in any 1 second. It goes through a process where just a very small, important percentage of it is sorted and brought to your conscious awareness. So this process of deleting can be made so that as soon as you find information that is important, that is valuable, your subconscious mind automatically starts removing everything that is unimportant and processes this information so that you recognize it's important and it's easy to remember. Now, this is, again, a 3-day process. It takes a lot of time to really sort of ingrain it in somebody, but it's very relevant to the idea of being able to take everything that's in the environment, take the one thing that is most important, the thing that you recognize has value, and delete everything else, and then bring it right into your awareness exactly when you need it. And it absolutely applies to my model of focus and attention when I'm working with somebody. I hope that addresses your question, Miko. I appreciate you reposting that here. If there's anyone else, any other questions, I'm absolutely willing to move along here. Another thing you'll find that I am trying to do in order to give value is I do some workshops that are free. Part of it is just for me to get experience teaching this stuff and to give value to those people locally. But also I videotape it and I try and put it on YouTube and present it here on Facebook as well. So if you see those things and you have comments, like them, share the love, and we'll go from there. Let's see. No other questions? Okay, guys. I am going to wrap it up unless someone else has any other topics or comments. Please feel free to comment below this video. That will give me information that I can use in the upcoming videos, and we can go from there. If you want to contact me personally, there are some ways on the Facebook page and on my website that you can do that. I'll be happy to deal with you personally. And thank you so much. You're here, which means you are not somewhere else. You actually took some time to be here. I appreciate you doing that. And there's a sense of sacrifice that's involved. And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week, next Saturday. Let's see, should we be back here next Saturday? Yes, we'll be back here next Saturday at 12 noon Mountain Time. That's going to be 11 o'clock Central Time. 11 o'clock, Pacific Time, 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern time, and I think it's like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock London time in England, but something like that. Guys, please take care. We'll talk very soon. Bye.